Well, welcome into stage 2 of the magnificent tour of Qinghai here in the northwestern part of China on what can only be described as a magnificent day, a contrast to what we saw in stage 1 yesterday, which was 9 laps, 13.2 kilometres in the downtown capital of Xining, the capital of the Qinghai province. Early on, a number of riders deciding to get up the road and looking to try and pick up those early King of the Mountain points, also the sprint ace points that were up for grabs. And in that break initially, in the King of the Mountains, it was Marcus Pajur who would end up maximising the number of points. In the sprint eights, it would be Alexander Selby, and Selby was very much perceived to be the athlete to beat. He'd come in with a remarkable record when it came to sprint finishes this year, winning 46%. The man from Leading Star would come through on the inside there with the red back and the white sleeves to win yet another victory, to go with the 2 that he won in last year's tour. An outstanding start, which means he would start the day on day 2 in the yellow jersey. Wonderful day for Leading Star, and that's how things would play out. Yuri Latau would go start the day in the Sprinters Green Ace jersey. Marcus Pajur, the man, would start in the King of the Mountains jersey. Great performance too from Eric Zonencello, one of the sprinters expected to feature in this year's tour, the 25th edition. Well, one of the great traditions, as we often see, is the sign-in. And this is the opportunity for teams to be acknowledged by the public, and of course, lot of scrutiny by the UCI officials. The team from Astana with the defending champion Henrik Mulubran, the man there third from left. He's won this race on a couple of occasions. Alexander Selby, the Danish rider, not expecting him necessarily to retain the yellow jersey today, such is the nature of this particular course, but he is a quality bike rider. He is well supported. And it will be this man here who will wear the King of the Mountains jersey today, Marcus Pajur. He had a very aggressive day on day 1, maximising the number of points available. The man from Estonia carries the hopes of his country. Temperature today, well yesterday, today is 12 degrees. We're at a very high altitude here at the finish line in the town of Menyuan. It currently sits at just under 10,000 feet. Today's stage, it's a big stage, the longest of the tour, as we have a look at our man in yellow, Alexander Selby. Yuri Latau is the man who will wear the sprinter's jersey. Can he defend that? There are today 3 sprint stages up for grabs. Marcus Pajur, the polka dots, is he good enough on a very difficult day to retain that jersey? King of the Mountain points up for grabs at 10.5 kilometres and 118.6. And there is the man who will wear the blue jersey today as being the best Asian rider, and he was very good yesterday, very aggressive indeed. So getting underway today in a town, well, making its debut at this year's, well, in the history of the Qinghai, the magnificent tour of Qinghai. We are in the town of Huangyuan. The ultimate destination today is the town of Menyuan at 224.6 kilometres. And this was always going to be a very tough start today. Throughout the first 10 kilometres, they have a 9.6 kilometre climb at an average of 7.6% up to the Beijing Pass. So tactics will play out today, an opportunity for the climbers to come to the fore. And which of those teams has the ability to win this particular stage? As we do have a look at it, 224.6 kilometres in total, or as I like to say, around about 180 kilometres of hope and 44.6 kilometres of truth. The highest point today will see the riders up that Beijing Pass. beautiful countryside, but you need to be comfortable with your head above the clouds. It's an undulating stage, a few flat stages, a number of big climbs, but when they approximately get to around about 70 kilometres remaining, it's more undulating with a flat finish through to the finish line. An opportunity for any sprinters in whatever peloton remains to possibly pick up maximum points, possibly to win the stage. And there is a look at the profile of today's stage, remembering that even though the gradient might not look as steep as what you see in the Tour de France, well, it is the fact that you are already at around 10,000 feet. And considering the body starts to make a physiological or metabolic change at around 2,000 feet, it gives you an idea of just how hard it is. Oxygen deprivation is a big part of it, and here is the man who started the day in the yellow jersey, Alexander Selby, the Danish rider. He is currently sitting in the third peloton on the road. So they are 21 minutes down on the chasing group, who are at 6 minutes 32 behind the front of the race. 5 riders at the front of the race. We'll come to them very shortly, but expect this man to still feature later on in the tour. He'll just be wanting to keep his powder dry, not burn too many matches. He knows this is not his stage today, but boy, great coverage, isn't it, for Li Ning, one of the big sports brands here in China. Great coverage for that trade team. 2 stage wins last year, and one of the most dominant sprinters on the Pro Tour. Just in a nice happy place at the moment along with this group. They'll just share the workload. We can just go back here earlier today and just have a look at some of the carnage. This is on that first climb where himself and a group of those sprinters from yesterday just struggled up that Beijing pass at 7.6%. And you can just see that race came apart from the back very quickly. King of the Mountains, another tough day yesterday's. Well, really wasn't a mountain stage as such. It was an opportunity for Marcus Pajur, the Estonian, to wear one of the big prestigious jerseys, but the reality is, I think those images demonstrate it would be only for one particular day, and that is today. At the front of it, approaching the first of the King of the Mountain stage, there was a group of riders. It included Jonathan Cathado Cepeda, John Aguirre, Christian Rodriguez, Ricardo Aguirre Caipa, and Diego Broccolente, the Italian. And it would be Cepeda who would pick up the maximum 7 points. Just looking to the left there, our live images, you can just see the carnage. There's not just the mountains start to have a toll on these riders, but also just the oxygen, just how tough and just how brutal this race is. Amongst some of the world's most beautiful scenery anywhere. And it was Aguirre who ended up getting dropped from that group after just a puncture, which was a little bit unlucky. And then the first of the sprint stages coming at 77.9 kilometres. And again, it would be Cepeda who would pick up maximum points. Aguirre from Euskaltel-Ustadi would pick up second place, 3 points. And then it would be Fernando Tercero who would pick up the other sprint point for grabs on that particular sprint stage. Went back then to the next of the King of the Mountain climbs. And another interesting battle, this time John Aguirre of Euskaltel-Ustadi picking up maximum points. As we look back over this magnificent plateau in the Qinghai region, the yellow flower there in the background is rapeseed used for canola oil. And they are originally about 9,500 to 10,000 feet here. So, well, in fact, above 10,000 feet. So, It might look idyllic, but I tell you what, when you pull back here, hard to believe that you're in northern China. You could be anywhere in Europe, you could be anywhere in Scandinavia, places like New Zealand, such as the magnificence of the scenery. Really is a stunning part of the world. So this is the main peloton trying to chase down a group of 5 riders in a break. And those riders in that break include Diego Broccolente, the Italian, riding for MBH Bank CBS Telecom Fort. Jonathan Casido, the Ecuador rider, 33 years of age, riding for World Top Rota Chengdu team. And then we've got John Aguirre, the Spanish rider, riding for Euskaltel Ustadi. And Christian Rodriguez out of Astana, one of the real favourites, leading that World Tour team Astana at this year's race, another one of the Spanish riders. And then we've got Fernando Tercero, another one of the Spanish riders riding for Team Polti Visit Malta. And so this is that group. They will be needing to work together. It's a good number, 5 riders. They've done a really good job. You can see that gap is now out to 5 minutes and 42 seconds. It also means that it's up to the other teams in the peloton to chase. Riders from MBH Bank CBS Telecom Fort will not chase. The World Top Rota Chengdu team will not race, will not go to the front of the peloton, will not do their work. Nor will Euskaltel Ustadi, Astana and the Team Polti Visit Malta. They've got riders in the break. It's in their best interests to force one of the other 17 teams to try and see if they can shut this break down. So 150 riders started this race yesterday. 3 have withdrawn today. 22 teams in all. 13 continental teams, 8 Pro Tour teams and 1 World Tour team. That is the team of Astana. And there is Jonathan Casido from the World Top Rota Chengdu team. What a bike rider he is. What a wonderful history he has in the sport of cycling. Very experienced campaigner. So they're about to get into another significant climb on this stage 2. As we see the rest of the peloton just trying to keep it together, just trying to hold on, just trying to survive. And the climb they're about to summit peaks at 3,174 metres, 4.6 kilometres in total at an average gradient of 5.1%. Highest peak they went today was right at the start at 10 kilometres into it. They reached a height of 3,378 metres up the Beijing Pass. Now that is a tough little climb, 9.6 kilometres at 7.6%. And so they've been magnificent all day, and they are world-class climbers, these 5, so it's in their just best interest to work together at the moment. Focus, stay concentrated, just make sure they maintain their concentration, and there are plenty of opportunities towards the end for the mind games in terms of who ultimately does want to try and take out this particular stage. As we have a look at the man from Euskaltel Ustadi, another one of the Spanish riders, John Aguirre, 28 years of age. 3 Spanish riders in this breakaway group, 1 rider from Ecuador, and that is Casido. The other being the Italian Diego Broccolente. So I wonder whether at some point nationalism within that group of 5 might play a part. I doubt it. Often happens at the Olympic Games where you'll get riders who will be riding for their country, but also also will have riders on the start line that might ride with them in their professional trade teams, and often deals can be done, particularly if one rider says, look, you know what, I can't win this today, you can. More than happy to help you and your country out, ultimately help out the professional trade team we both ride for when we're not competing at the Olympic Games or similar type events. Really nice shot here, just strung out nicely. Some really good speed's been done. They'll be heading well into 45, 50 kilometres an hour through here. It'll be one of those little areas where maybe they can just freewheel a bit, get a little bit of recovery. As mentioned, you've got to be comfortable with your head above the clouds when you're above 10,000 feet. And it's fair to say that none of these riders have had any chance to come here and acclimatise or get used to the altitude. They've just had to turn up, fly in 2 or 3 days before, so it's economies of scale for all of them. As we go back to the front of the race. And there is the man from Team Polti Visit Malta. Fernando Tercero. Three riders that did pull out of the race today. Daniel Gold of 7-Eleven, again with Daniel Yon Hin, also of the 7-Eleven team, and Willie Schmidt of the China Unter team. Now, there was a big crash just towards the finish of stage one yesterday. A number of riders came down quite heavily, and those three withdrawals are very much a result of that. So a number of the domestics hard at work, going back to their cars to then come forward and fuel their riders. We're looking at the rider from MBH Bank, and that was Eduardo Cipollini. So there's Castello Stadi, looking very good, is John Aguirre, the Spanish rider, wearing number 51 today. Finished 5th in this particular bike race last year, 8th on GC at the Tour of Langkawi back in 2023. Had a number of 4th place finishes and stages here previously. Be looking to try and go one better. Very much a GC rider, good climber. He is going to have his workout by the man currently at the front of this bike race, leading this breakaway. That is the man from Astana, Christian Rodriguez, out of Astana. They of course have Heinok Mulubrand, the 2-time champion, in their team, and I just wonder whether maybe if he gets the damage, gets across the line today, Heinok will be there very much to work for Christian Rodriguez. Won the Tour of Rwanda back in 2021. 2nd on GC at the Tour of Oman back earlier in the year. Very, very good result there. Go back and just having a look at the earlier sprint stages. Have a wee look here, and there you go. Cepeda picking up more valuable points. John Aguirre picking up the 1, and Rodriguez there picking up valuable points as well in that fight for that sprinter's green jersey. Of course, the polka dot jersey as well. So now asking each other to do some work. Fatigue levels will be kicking in, so we've certainly lost one rider from this break of 5. So the rider that we have lost, by the looks of it, we will confirm that for you in a moment. Possibly have lost Diego Broccolente, the Italian, riding for the MBH Bank CSB Telecom 14. As we take in some of this magnificent scenery. I always wonder, sitting up here at 10,000 feet ourselves, and then you look at the mountains in the background and you do just wonder how high they might be. Yeah, just a little bit of cramp kicking in. So this is what we did see. So it is in fact Jonathan Cathado who has been the rider who's come off the back. So my apologies, initially said it might have been Diego Broccolente, the Italian, but in fact a lot of cramp just kicking in now for one of South America's great riders, and from Ecuador, four-time national champion in the individual time trial for his country. Won those time trial titles back in 2015, 2019, 2023 and 2026. He's got some work to do to try and get back on. Nothing worse than cramp. He'll be dropping back to his team vehicle, getting some instructions here. But he is going to have to use all his time trialling ability to try and get back on. Hope that maybe the four riders still in this front of the bike race start looking at each other a little bit. I wonder whether the four riders think they can be just as efficient. No need to slow down for a fifth rider. Fascinating stuff though. So 5 at the front of the bike race for so much of it, now down to 4. So just hold on there. Commissaires will be monitoring those sorts of things in terms of getting too much assistance, outside assistance. So there you go, just over 180 metres, but it will be hard. He's having to do it on his own. He's got 4 riders up the front just rolling through nicely. They won't be necessarily riding any harder, but they will just be sharing the workload. And even if he does get on, how much damage will be done in terms of how many matches he's had to burn to get back on. Jonathan Caicedo, Cepeda, man from Ecuador, 33 years of age, won the Pan American Continental Championship back in 2016. Also has won GC at the Vuelta a Antwerp, Vuelta El Tachera back in 2024. Lovely little shot there at the gear ratios, big chainring there by the looks of it on the front. The hardest gear or the smallest gear on the back, so pretty much almost at maximum power. Amazing the setup of the bikes these days. They'll all be slightly set up differently based on the athlete's individual physiological profiles and data that'll come from their training. It's all about just trying to keep a nice smooth pedal cadence though, making sure that you maintain the power all the way through the 360-degree turn. Just have a look at the front of the cycling shoes. It's almost like they're just scraping mud off the front. Imagine you've got mud on the bottom of your shoes and you're just sort of scraping it off by just lifting your foot, keeping that circular motion. And they'll all have a contrast, they'll have different riding style here, and so 4 will become 5. Really good job being done here by Jonathan Caicedo. The Ecuador man has got back on. There you go, 51.3 kilometres. And just have a look at the main peloton, who are still looking to try and chase it down, just down to 2 minutes and 25 seconds now. So good job being done by those teams on the front of the peloton. Just trying to pick up what teams are doing that work. Looks very much like might be the Cofidis team actually. A team who for a long time were part of the World Tour. Dropped back this year to Pro Tour. Now the Leading Star boys starting to come through because they know that if they can shut this down, they've got another chance of possibly winning another stage, depending on whether Alexander Selby's in this group or in the group prior to it, or in the third group out on the road. So it is very much the Cofidis team. Alexis Reynard is the man they will be riding for. And now you can see the pace is really on that long, big line. So the pain train's on its way, folks. They mean business now. They are not going to muck around, and with 53 kilometres to go, you would expect this group to be chased down, and that could end up ultimately meaning another sprint finish here on stage 2. Astana just sitting second, third wheel by the looks of it. They won't be doing anything, they'll just be acting as a policeman. It's the Go For This team who are on the hunt. As we just take in this magnificent scenery again, I just can't emphasise it enough what a beautiful, beautiful part of the world it is. A lot of the locals out too, loving this. To be fair, in this part of China too, they don't get to see a lot of foreigners. Can be a little bit of a novelty, particularly the young kids. And you can just see one of the tough little gradients here. All of these riders just not looking quite as smooth with their cadence. Some deciding to just get out of their seat, others staying seated. There's not necessarily a right or a wrong. Any chance to just relax the legs a bit, use a slightly different muscle group, going from that seated position where you're predominantly in that one position most of the time, just being able to get out, stand up a little bit, dance on the pedals, use a slightly different muscle group. Now the main peloton down to 1 minute and 53 seconds. If we were to look at the sprinters, Alexis Reynard of Go For This, one of the leading sprinters, has the potential to win this stage. Enrico Zanincello from Bardiani, Yuri Natal of Caja Rural. The question is though, are they in this group, or are they in the third group on the road? That will be the big question. Opportunity also too for Hanoch Mouloubrand, two-time and the defending champion, who has a rider up the road at the moment, so he wouldn't have done any work in this peloton, so he'll have some fresh legs, but he also probably would have handled the climbs in this stage maybe a little bit easier than the pure sprinters that are left in this group, who I'd imagine at times would have had to put themselves in the hurt box and lock themselves there and experience the razor blades attacking the lungs and the bonfires in the legs and all those other wonderful metaphors that describe the sport of cycling when it's at its toughest. Another one to keep an eye on too, out of Li Ning's start, if in fact Alexander Selby's not in this group, is Simon Palot, Swiss rider, another experienced campaigner. Jess Barash of China Anta Mentec cycling team, another one to keep an eye on. Marco Manente out of Bardiani could also join the likes of Enrico Zanincello, and then of course Manuel Paneva riding for Team Polti Visit Malta, who won stage 1 in last year's tour of Qinghai, magnificent Qinghai. So certainly a number of riders that can win it if the two races do come together, and the time is coming down. So they've been out for a long time. So other riders, most pro victories this season: Alexander Selby, Pierre Barbier. Selby's had 4 victories. Barbier's had 2. Josh Burnett, the New Zealander, riding for Burgos, has had 2 victories. Mathis Avance, the Belgian rider's had the 1. And same with Carter Bettles out of Australia. So some riders certainly coming in with some good form. So we will sit back and watch. Plenty of discussion going on. John Aguirre, the Spanish rider from Euskal Ustadi, a little bit animated there, looking at the rest of his riders in that break. So come on guys, got to stay a little bit more organised. There is Hanoch Mouloubrand back in the main bunch. The man from Astana, the man from Eritrea. He's not Eritrea's most famous rider, but he's certainly well known over there. Of course that would be Benny Gourmet, one of the world-class sprinters, riding the Tour de France for Astana this year. So these trade teams in the World Tour, they'll have this Tour of Austria underway as well at the moment, so they'll also have riders riding there, here, and obviously riders riding in the Tour de France. So all the teams have depth, and they're often sent to different parts of the world to try and accumulate valuable points, pick up prize money, and obviously pick up professional race wins. And also important from a commercial point of view to make sure that they provide some leverage for their commercial partners and provide that return on investment or that return on objectives, whatever the reason is, that a major corporation might come in and say, look, we want to attach a name to a professional cycling team. Now, as things flatten out, you can just see a little bit of a crosswind there, so coming from right to left, across their right shoulder. That's why we are just seeing maybe that stagger formation. And so you want to stay to the right of the wheel in front of you. Might just be more a case of just taking the riders across the different sides of the road. Looking in the background, doesn't appear to be a lot of wind. Certainly here at the finish line there's not a lot of wind. It's actually a very lovely mild day. The sun's been out. As we still have a look at the team here from Cofidis, looking to shut this break down, and down to now about 1 minute and 10 seconds. It is amazing the physics involved in the sport of cycling. You've got the riders at the back pushing the riders at the front, the riders at the front pull the riders behind. You've got these two forces working together. Once they decide to put the hammer down, it can happen very quickly. So the Spanish rider from Euskaltel-Ustadi says, I've had enough. I'm going to try and see if I can go to my own. If you're not going to chase me, boys, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I wonder whether the rest of the riders have just sensed that the peloton is coming. Maybe you've decided just to wave the white flag a little bit. But he might just also have the legs here, and it looks like he's going to try and go on his own. Doesn't seem to be a lot of urgency from that chase group, the other riders in the group, including Diego Bracalente, the Italian, Jonathan Castedo from the World Top Road to Chengdu team. Italian here, just 21 years of age, so big future ahead of him. And there is Fernando Tercero, another one of the Spanish riders in that group. Wonderful images coming from a helicopter. Sebastian Varvan, brought out from Switzerland as part of the camera crew here. A man who's covered the Tour de France, so certainly knows how to sell the sport. Up there in the helicopter doing a wonderful job. Of course, the moto camera crews we have at both China and the Netherlands here as well, making sure that we bring you world-class coverage of this stunning race. Interesting, just looking at having a look here at the profile of Fernando Tercero. He's finished 4th in the Tour of Langkawi, my apologies. He's had 2nd in Ron de la Sade, 2nd there in 2021. Real opportunity today to try and see if he could pick up a stage win and possibly put himself into that yellow jersey. But I think what has been a very, very good breakaway will come to an end very shortly. And it is the boys from Cofidis who just continue to drive the pain train, maybe to just put themselves into the hurt box, try and set up a stage victory. Maybe not necessarily a stage victory today, but just try and keep this race together, and then look to maybe attack on a stage later in the week where they genuinely think they can put themselves in that yellow jersey. A lot of teams, well, they'll say, look, we want the yellow jersey, but how early in the week do we want it? We have to defend it if we've got it. It's our responsibility then to do the chasing. It's our responsibility to do the tempo. Work on the front of the peloton to try and prevent breaks from going up the road. And when you're dealing with altitudes at this race, with the lowest altitude being just 7,500 feet, which was on stage 1, you've got to be also very, very smart in terms of be careful what you wish for early on in this particular tour. As we do have a look at John Arguedi, the Spanish rider from Euskaltel Ustadi rider, supported well too by the likes of Unai Asnar. We've got, of course, Samuel Fernandez as part of that team. You've got the British rider Louis Sutton. I like what he's trying to do here. Take his opportunity, take his chance. He's got nothing to lose. The rest of this breakaway group, well, I've just decided to sit up now. Let the peloton pick them up. Opportunity maybe just to eat and drink a little. And they have been very, very good today. Wonderful. Good, smooth-looking bike riders, all of them beautifully balanced. And I'll often say this, that you just look at the form of riders too to know if they're in trouble or not. You just look at the pedal cadence, see whether it's still nice and smooth, nice and relaxed upper body, soft hands on the handlebars. When you start to see a little bit more head movement, shoulders start to move up towards the head, or they're shifting through their gears or starting to lean on slightly bigger gears, generally a sign of fatigue. But in saying that, I think it's more a case of the peloton just riding that much quicker, because they still look relatively comfortable, all of them. It's a really nice shot there, big chain ring on the front. They might be riding a 56. So 56 teeth on the front. Could be possibly bigger, but 56 seems to be the most popular choice of chain ring size and therefore gear ratio ability. Absolutely just chucking it down. Just have a look there, maybe in a second or third hardest gear. Not sure that he's in the smallest cog on the back of that cluster. As we look over the shoulder, size still just to keep going. As the rest of this group will be hauled in by the peloton. Really good performance today from Diego and Bracalenti, the Italian, the youngster at just 21 years of age. Born in Fermo in Italy. Now it's going to start to get interesting, because what sprinters are still left in this main group? Who is likely to take out the stage victory? And it's looking more and more like it will come down to a bunch sprint. Fascinating race. I just wonder here whether Yuri Leitao from Caja Rural might be poised, might be set to go. The likes of Enrico Zanincello from Bardiani. But maybe, just maybe, it might be the rider from Team Balti, Visit Malta, Manuel Peneva, another one of the Spanish riders. So, and there is the team from Team Balti, Visit Malta, in the white shirt, green sleeves with the red patch in the middle. As we see another attack looking to try and go up the side of the peloton. It's one of the boys from Burgos. Immediately they jump on as well. Rider from Caja Rural going. Same with a rider possibly there from Li Ning Star, one of the other Chinese trade teams. Just going back to Manuel Penelva. One a stage last year here, won a stage in the Tour of China back in 2018. He's had a couple of second place victories on stages here previously as well. As we go back to John Ageti, Euskaltel, Ustadi, famous team, been around a long time. Yeah, look at that, nice position, nice and relaxed. He's got that computer there he'll be looking at. He'll be knowing what sort of power output that he's putting through the pedals. Got all that information at their beckoning these days. It's measured in watts. And then your efficiency's based then on your body weight. Top bike riders will be looking to try and push 5 to 6 or even up to 7 kilowatts per kilogram of body weight. So you might see a rider pushing higher watts, but they might be a lot heavier and therefore not necessarily a better bike rider. He's either got to stop looking back or just keep going here. Another little breakaway though. I reckon the rest of the peloton at some point will look to try and shut that down. So fascinating game of cat and mouse here on stage 2 of the 25th edition of the Tour of magnificent Qinghai in the northwestern part of China. Capital of the province is the city of Xining, which was the backdrop and stage for stage 1 yesterday, won by Li Ning stars Alexander Selby. Do not underestimate Henok Mulubran for a sprint finish too. Town of Menyuan is the destination, and they certainly do present it beautifully. Finish line is set up, good crowd starting to come in, so there will be a 10-second time bonus for winning the stage, 6 seconds for second. Go to 4, 3, 2, 2, 1, which was the situation yesterday. Again, just having a look at that setup there, beautiful smooth pedal cadence. Look at that lovely circular motion. So, just going through it too, 191 kilometres. One more sprint stage still to come today, 191.4 kilometres. Just an opportunity for valuable sprint points. And now, Ageti, the Spanish rider, his day will come to an end. He's been gutsy, he's been courageous, he certainly done his team proud. Really good performance from him. But he is about to be swallowed up. We will more than likely finish stage 2 with a sprint finish. The question is, will it be the pure sprinters? Will it be the good all-rounder who has the ability to sprint? Simply because the very best of our sprinters have just slowly fallen off the back of the main peloton throughout this stage, the longest stage of this year's tour at 224.6 kilometres. Try and get a bit of an update of what riders are still in the peloton, who is more than likely to try and win today's stage. Be a little bit of a game of cat and mouse at this point. One of the Astana riders, by the looks of it, just deciding to go to the front to just shut that little break down. At some point, and it won't be right now, But some of these teams will just come to the front, set a really good tempo, make it almost impossible for anyone to break away of any real significance, simply because they just simply won't be able to maintain that pace on their own for too long. So these riders sitting at 10,000 feet, you do wonder what the height of those mountains in the background are. Oxygen is thin at this level, folks. Some wonderful images. I'm not sure the riders will necessarily be taking the scenery in at this point. It is an awful long wait. Food and nutrition's been a key thing all day. It's not a sport where you can ever afford to get hungry or feel hungry. Often by the time you do try and satisfy that hunger, you find yourself dancing with Mickey and Donald in Disneyland. You pop. Terrible feeling when you have that glycogen breakdown on a bike ride, in a bike race. Literally every ounce of energy is sapped from your body. So another one of the Astana boys deciding to go up the road. This is, in fact, it's Bardiani, I think, that's gone up the road. Yeah, it is one of the riders from Bardiani. The likes of Luca Covelli, Edward Cruz in that race. Of course, Marco Manenti, Alessio Martinelli, Alex Talio, and then of course Enrico Zanincello. They do also have Martin Hareno, one of the riders out of Colombia. Two, in fact, make up two Colombian riders in that Bardiani team. The other five are Italian. So temperature has risen around about 18 degrees. Started out today at a cool 12. It's a nice dry heat though. Beautiful idyllic conditions at the finish line in the city of Menyuan. It's played host to many stages over the years since this tour of magnificent Qinghai started 25 years ago. Those wonderful plateau, no crosswinds, which are probably a cyclist's worst nightmare. I'd say they'd rather have a Category 1 hill climb than having to deal with crosswinds. Drop back through the group, rider number 151 is Li Bon, riding for the Body Wrap cycling team, one of the Chinese continental trade teams. 106 is one of the Australians, Will Heath, riding for the Cachet Body Wrap team. An all-Australian continental trade team. Features the likes of Matthew Greenwood in there as well, William Heffernan. That's a really lovely shot, isn't it? Nice corner, not too tight. All riders being able to handle it. But this is where they do have to be careful. Riders are fatigued. It doesn't take much. You've got that critical mass around you. It can be a little bit gladiatorial. Not necessarily deliberately. And just tap on the brakes a little bit. Lose your concentration. Drop a drink bottle. And before we know it, we see a number of riders come down. Very much the case yesterday on stage 1. Now the Burgos boys have gone to the front to try and see if they can shut that little break down. Still a little bit chaotic. Rider there from Qinghai Rural, by the looks of it, deciding to have a little bit of a crack up the road as well. They will probably be putting their hopes today on Yuri Littell, if he is in fact in that main peloton, number 31. Very, very good bike rider, the Portuguese. He's the only Portuguese rider in that Qinghai Rural team. The rest of them are all Spanish. But he did win the Tour of Helles back in 2023. Trofeo Palmer as well back in 2025. He's 28 years of age. He's got a teammate at the moment, looking to try and get into a little bit of a mini break, hopefully try and draw another rider across. And there we go, it is Samuel Fernandez Garcia. Love this wonderful courage. You've got to be tough. Maybe under some team instructions here, there'll be some method to the madness. Automatically see Leading Star looking to try and see if they can chase him down, get on the front, try and keep this race together. Possibly look to set up a stage victory for their other sprinter, and that is the likes of Simon Palor. So, Samuel Fernandez, absolutely just in the hurt box here. Biggest chainring, smallest cog at the back, just absolutely trying to just put the power down. Hope there's a bit of confusion in the peloton. Teams are looking at each other a little bit, saying, you chase, no, I'll chase. That's a tough sport, folks. But Samuel Fernandez. Did win a stage in Ronde Lizard back in 2022. He's just 23 years of age, so big future ahead of him. Really just in the early part of his professional career. Not a big man, just 57 kilograms. Considers himself a bit of a GC rider. Describes himself as a good climber, not a great sprinter. But starting to do a good job here. He absolutely has put the power down. They'll just hang him out though with 32.2 kilometres to go. Give his sponsors a little bit of television time. Main peloton won't be overly concerned. Still a significant distance. And then we do have a look at that peloton in the background. All the different team vehicles, as mentioned. Started with 150 riders, 3 riders pulling out overnight. So 22 teams in total, 13 of those are continental teams, 8 are part of the Pro Tour, and then the one World Tour team, which is Astana, who actually have some strong affiliations with China, and really starting to establish that relationship. Sometimes too you'll actually see riders in a bit of a chase group, not so much right here, right now, and to where we are on the bike race. Particularly early on, you might see some riders who might just be feeling a little bit flat for some reason. They find that just going to the front, getting their heart rate elevated a little bit, might just be the thing that wakes them up before they do drop back. Some riders like to just dictate terms rather than being dictated to. Others clearly under team orders to go to the front and do what's asked of them. So a whole lot of different reasons sometimes for what we might be describing as madness. What is the reason for doing what they're doing? Why are they burning matches early? Why are they not looking to conserve and save their energy? Amazing too, the clothing these days, the amount of sports science that goes into that. You could argue that the clothing is almost equipment. Trying to reduce any level of drag. Do a lot of wind tunnel testing. It's not the smoothest bike rider, Fernandez, but very, very efficient for him. Got very good cycling economy, and that's one thing you've always got to be a bit careful of. You see, particularly a lot in running, you might see someone with bad form, or what you deem to be bad form, or look a little unorthodox, as we now do have a look at this beautiful, beautiful animal. And this is the snow leopard. A number of sanctuaries in and around the Qinghai region in regards to rescuing them, also protecting them. They are absolutely valued in this part of the world. They prefer the cold, arid desert environment. They like the old steep, rocky, mountainous areas. They actually are an animal too that dig their own burrows, but actually also will take over abandoned marmot dens. They are predominantly nocturnal, so most of their activity is at night. So hopefully the riders don't get to experience the snow leopards. Love to see them, don't want to get too involved with them. Just having a look there at number 26, Nawawi Kudus, another one of these riders out of Eritrea. So it is just almost a national sport over there. And he is wearing the African Continental Championship road racing jersey. He has won the Tour of Rwanda in the past back in 2019, and I was very lucky last year to fly out of China with Hanoch Mulubrano, who had won this tour, and I was talking to him about cycling in Eritrea, and he was talking about Beni Gourmet and just how big the sport is in that African country, and almost a national sport. And we're going to see more and more riders come out of there. More and more professional trade teams pick them up because of their reliability, just their physiological side of their makeup. And it is great to see that they are very much leading the way when it comes to riders coming out of the African continent. And so lovely to have Nawawi Kudus racing here, metre 73. For a very, very good Spanish trade team in Burgos. One rider that we haven't talked a lot about, who has the potential of winning this race and was very unlucky back in 2023, finishing second, and that is Eric Fagundes, the man from Uruguay. Lino Clement, part of that Burgos team as well. Elino doesn't again describe himself very much as a sprinter, so looking to try and ride for GC along with Josh Burnett. This will be fascinating though to see what sprinters are still left in this peloton and who can ultimately end up winning this particular stage, stage 2. Stage 3, well, that will start in the town they finished today in, and that is the town of Menyuan. Will go through to Hushu. It's 167.7 kilometres, stage 3, and ironically it's almost the other end of the scale. It's downhill pretty much for just over 105 kilometres, and then a very, very big climb. And it goes for about 25 to 30 kilometres, where they'll go up the Balong Shan mountain, and that is one. It's around about a 13 kilometre climb, around about 6.3%, and once they do get to the top of that climb, it is then a fast run through to the finish line. So that will be tomorrow's stage, 167.5 kilometres. Just looking at the riders there in the back of the peloton. They'll all be asked to do something at some point throughout this week, as we see the Astana boys now coming to the front and deciding that they want to just have a little bit of a turn. Pierre-Henri Basset, the French rider, riding for Astana. They've got riders out of Spain, Kazakhstan, Eritrea, China, the Netherlands, France, and Denmark. Gustav Wang, the Danish rider, riding for Astana at this year's Tour of Magnificent Qinghai. Doing a good job here. Still just locking himself in that hurt box and saying, you know what, come and get me. So Samuel Fernandez in that tuck position. Still got a good smooth cadence, trying to conserve as much energy as he can. Just looking at the peloton behind, bit of an arrowhead formation. Astana still on the front, doing the work. Shouldn't underestimate too, for Astana, Anton Guzman. A man from Kazakhstan. Of course, Astana, the capital of Kazakhstan. As we just get another lovely update look at those bike frames. Boy, they're aerodynamic these days. Even the tyres these days are designed with an aerodynamic component around them. Interesting to see the width of the tyres there, around about 28 mils. They'll only have around 70 psi in them. A real contrast from what we saw 10 or 15 years ago when the tyres were much narrower and much harder. But the science says no, wider, softer, easier ride. Also, riders will not use as much energy if it is a softer ride. The vibrations just simply don't go through the body, simply don't go through the frame. But Anton Guzman for Astana is a sprinter, not a pure sprinter, but has the ability to sprint. So maybe they're looking to try and set up a stage victory for him. So just confirming those sprint points from earlier today too. Samuel Fernandez picked up the 5 points for the sprint stage at 191.4 kilometres. Andrei Stepanov picked up 3 points and Lucas de Rossi picked up 1 point. So having a look at the riders there from Cofidis, second and third wheel, the riders from Astana, all just using this little downhill opportunity to continue drinking, continue eating. It is just automatic at this level for these bike riders at this level. They have worked out through training and through races like this what their calorie intake is and how they need to keep that calorie intake up, whether it be through liquids, whether it be through a gel, or even whether it be through solid food. They'll all have maybe something slightly different on their menu. That's what works for you. Just having a look at the bike setup here of Fernandez. Doesn't have the deep carbon rim wheels. All race wheels these days are carbon rim to some degree, but they do vary in terms of the depth on them. In a beautiful tuck position. Looking nice and smooth, looking nice and comfortable. Wonder too whether we saw the rider from the Qinghai Tianyude Hotel cycling team earlier, one of the Chinese trade teams, doing a bit of the work on the front. Astana sitting second wheel, Cofidis third and fourth. So Astana very much at the front. Do like the look there though. I really do like the look of the Team Pulte Visit Malta team with the green sleeves, white shirt, the red patch in the middle with their team name and sponsors logos on. And there is Alistair Christie Johnston just dropping back again, probably wanting to act in the domestique role, go back up the road and feed the rest of his team. Number 122 there is Andrei fact, it is Andre Militiadis. So you do wonder what is going through the mind of this young man. The chase is about to come to an end, but it's been gutsy. It's been a very, very good performance from him. So it is about to come to an end. And there it is. A lot of effort, a lot of work's gone into this bike race, and these very proud people in this part of China wanting to present this part of the world to the rest of the world, showing their love, showing their support. So it's physical, and at some point it will become mental, it will become tactical. I do like the fact that Team Polte Visit Malta will be looking to try and step the stage up for Manuel Penalva, the Spanish rider. Penalva, again, mentioned has won stages here previously. Wheat also, that is part of the crops that you'll get in this part of the country, used for one of China's leading beer brands. Wonderful shots, isn't it? Great to see the locals out here supporting this race. Absolutely beautiful conditions. As I said, you could swear you could be somewhere in the Mediterranean at times. You could be in Greece with the scenery in the background, swing around. You could be anywhere in Europe, Scandinavia, countries like New Zealand. Such is the landscape, such is the beauty of this place. So I'm not prepared to throw it in just yet, though, as Fernandez. Still riding really, really well. Nice and smooth. Be what we call a high aerobic state at the moment, so he's not in the absolute hurt box, but he could answer a few questions if asked, but would probably prefer not to talk. Of course, they base a lot of their training, they'll download a lot of their data that'll be coming off their bike computer. They'll have their training files, and then they'll say, look, this is the type of work we need to do in training based on what you've done previously in races. So if we want to try and do it again, as we do have another look here at these remarkable snow leopards that are very famous in this part of the world. They can often lie motionless on the ground for long periods to ambush prey. You almost think that they might be dead even. They're not a fast runner. They rely on patience to catch their food, I'm told, and they mainly feed on plateau pikas, gerbils and other rodents. And they are considered to be a natural rodent control expert on the grasslands. Occasionally they will prey on small birds, lizards, and so they do play a significant role in maintaining the ecological balance of the pasture lands. Temperament wise, well, probably slightly different to cyclists. They're solitary, they're alert, strongly wild by nature. They are accustomed to living alone. Mind you, there's probably a lot of similarities there with cyclists, aren't they? I mean, a lot of the cyclists I've experienced over the years, you know, it is a very lonely sport, a lot of big, long training hours, particularly when you're trying to make it into the professional ranks. So you've got to be determined, you've got to be tough. As we just go back and to Just have a look at the riders there, coming back through the peloton. Another one of these little undulations. That's pretty much how this is going to play out over the next 17 kilometres. A few undulations, predominantly downhill, and then a couple of flat stages thrown in. The problem is that they've already done over 200 kilometres. I mentioned earlier, when you have a stage that is 224 kilometres, it's probably about 180 kilometres of open, sort of 44 kilometres of truth. There is that exponential curve fatigue that kicks in. We hear a lot of you know, triathletes, particularly Ironman, 180 kilometre bike ride, and you know, can feel quite good at 120k, quite good maybe at 140, but often sitting in the gutter at 150. And I think every endurance sport, every sport that involves serious time and distance, there is that certain threshold where then the fatigue levels start to kick up. And Fernandez now just having a look around. Big future ahead of him though. Looks like a very, very good bike rider. Certainly fearless. And now these teams will have a plan around their sprinters. They'll be aware of the terrain. They will have every piece of technology that will be mapping this particular course. They'll be relaying those messages. They wouldn't have had necessarily an opportunity too much of a reconnaissance. Certainly for the lead-out riders particularly, they often do want to know whether there's left-hand, right-hand turns. I remember talking to one of the great lead-out riders, Greg Henderson, a New Zealander who rode for a number of professional teams, won a stage in Vuelta España, and of course was the lead-out rider for the great Andre Greipel. And he said, look, all he really wanted to know was which way around the roundabouts. Do I take the left side? Do I take the right side? Which is obviously pretty prevalent in races like the Tour de France. That's not the case here. As we just make our way back through the main peloton. Number 13 there riding for the Bardiani team. Martin Herreno, the Colombian rider. Most of the team there from Team Polti, Visit Malta, towards the front. They will be looking to try and set this up for Manuel Paielva. On stage one last year, a remarkable victory for him. Stunner on the front doing the work of the peloton. Possibly then looks like a rider from the Qinghai Tianyude Hotel team. Couple of riders then sitting in behind from the Cofidis team. And from Fernando Barthelo, part of that break earlier today, did a really good job. So it looks fairly pedestrian, but it will ramp up very, very shortly. So don't go away, folks. Settle back, enjoy this one. Who will pick up stage two? So Cofidis have, of course, Sylvain Monacat in their team. Not a sprinter, though. Cofidis have very much bought a team of climbers this year. As we now just have a look at this peloton going across the side of the road, so possibly a little bit of a crosswind. If you're looking at that, if it was, normally when you see the riders on a bit of a diagonal, or just trying to block themselves from the wind. So in this situation, at the front you would have had wind coming from one direction, just tucking on the other side of the rider, so they basically take the brunt of it. 151 there, one of China's leading riders, Li Bong, for the body wrap Chinese trade team. I saw there the great Henok Mulu Brandt, number 3. He'll just be biding his time. He knows this tour incredibly well. And very rarely have we seen riders in recent years get away and win stages individually. It's always come down to small groups, and ultimately a sprint determines it. And that peloton is certainly not 150 riders, is it? So we can see just how much damage has been done throughout the day. Certainly another group out there on the road, possibly even 2. 13.6 kilometres. Fascinating, fascinating final 10 kilometres to go shortly. So just strung out nicely. Astana there set. Yeah, famous colours. Been around for a long time now. Astana did well to actually maintain World Tour status last year. Top 18 teams in the world. And then there's that promotion relegation between the World Tour and the Pro Tour. Of course, a number of the top Pro Tour teams do ride World Tour events, and some of the World Tour teams will drop down. Caja Rural, of course, riding the Tour de France, along with a number of the other teams that are in action here today. Of course, we've seen the likes of Burgos and stuff riding the Giro d'Italia. Never go too far, do you, from Cofidis in this year's Tour de France. I think Euskaltel, Euskadi, well, they've had a rich history across all the major bike races over the years, all the Grand Tours. It's nice to see, though, the establishment of a number of these Chinese trade teams, the likes of Body Wrap, the likes of Li Ning Star, particularly Li Ning Star, not afraid to sign up European riders. Big sports brand over here in China, almost the equivalent, like I guess, of a Nike or an Adidas. Number 51 there from Euskadi, John Agedi, who was in part of that break for most of the day. Now just sitting back going, you know what, gave it a crack, try and recover as best as I can, and maybe we can have another crack tomorrow. The other rider there is Mikel Vizcarra, number 53 in the orange as well. So number 133, and that is the man wearing the blue jersey for the leading Asian rider. And that was Bayat Batsaikan, the man from Mongolia. Qinghai body wrap team, the Australian team, haven't really seen a lot of them. Never really sort of seemed to be at the front end of the bike race, never really seemed to sort of get themselves into too many breaks. But they will have a plan. They are a continental team, so a relatively young trade team. Really just trying to use this to gain valuable experience, then a stepping stone perhaps possibly into higher teams, World Tour teams, Pro Tour teams, put their names out there, pick up other contracts. A really good pathway team for Australian cycling. There's the Qinghai body wrap team. So 11.1 kilometres to go. It's been a tough day, 224 kilometres. Started at just after 9 o'clock this morning. First 10 kilometres, they had a 9.6 kilometre climb and a 7.6% gradient. They started at around 7,000 to 8,000 feet and pretty quickly hit 10,000 feet. So welcome to stage 2 was very much the message. And there is another look at the snow leopard there, eating some of the rodents. So within this Qinghai region, the main mountains where they can be found are the Chilean mountains. We'll be going to the town of Chilean later in the week. In this particular region, Minyuan. So they're also known as the Chinese desert cat. I think we tend to know them more as the snow leopard. They are a nationally protected animal here in China. So still Samuel Fernandez, still staying just out there in front. Happy just maybe into time trial mode. Keep nice solid cadence. He'll be looking at his power output on that bike computer, and he'll be trying to stay within a very small range, not going above it, not going below it. He'll be working that also in with his heart rate and trying to get all the stars aligned in regards to his own individual physiology. But you can just see the long line there, so the pace is certainly on in the main peloton. It's not grouped up just yet. We see the Astana team, we see the Team Polti Visit Malta team. Now, the Bardiani boys in fact coming up, so it's more Bardiani rather than it is Astana. And that is fascinating, great to see. Still not leaving anything to chance though, are they? The Burgos team sitting there as well, looking comfortable. So Luca Bardiani will have Luca Covilli, Edward Cruz, Marco Menenti, Alessio Martinelli, Alex Talio, Enrico Zanancello. Now let's just see what sprinters might still be left in this particular group. Very hard to pick up at the moment. Certainly wasn't a case today. It was always a case of some riders looking to try and get off the front today, but it was always going to be a case of most of the riders just falling off the back of the peloton, the bunch coming apart from the back, just due to the altitude and obviously the nature of the stage and the climbs, and those two things combining. Altitude deprivation. So altitude will start to have an impact on the body at around about 2,000 feet. And so you can imagine what it's like at 10,000 feet. If you stay up here for 21 days, which they believe is to be optimal, you start to see an increase in your red blood cells. The body starts to naturally produce EPO. Increases your hematocrit, your ability to carry oxygen around the body. These days, the philosophy is that you live high, train low. So you spend most of your time living up at altitude, but doing a lot of your harder training at sea level. Of course, doing a lot more aerobic work at altitude if you are going to be super high. It doesn't necessarily have a positive effect on all athletes. Again, some people handle altitude well, others don't. lot of science goes into it these days. Not a lot of time, though, in the calendar year for these professional cyclists to spend too much time at altitude. As we go back just through the back of the peloton. And look there at right at number 142, and that is part of the Terengganu cycling team. Matthias Brekhoy. Another one of the Danish riders. So, question, who wins the stage? Who gets the best lead out? Who's still got the legs after what has been a brutal, brutal stage, and certainly a long time in the saddle. Interesting to see that Marcin Budinsky actually has a brother today riding in the Tour of Austria. And David Frigo riding today has a brother riding in the Tour de France, Marco Frigo. And Nino Saxis riding in this particular race. His brother Paul is riding the Tour de France as well. So professional cycling very much running in the family of a number of these riders. So the town of Menuan not too far away now. Large crowd gathering at the finish line to watch the finish of this race. Will it be Enrico Zanincello? Will we possibly see the likes of Manuel Paielva out of Team Balti visit Malta? Alexander Selby's not in that group. Question is, do we have Yuri Lateo from Kaha Rural in there as well? Because he was very good yesterday, finishing second in that stage to Alexander Selby. So 4.6 kilometres, and that is the town of Menuan. Crowd starting to build. And now it comes down to those with big hearts, those with a head like granite, those with the courage to want to go to the front of a bike race and try and win a sprint stage. It can be gladiatorial, folks. It is a hard sport. It is going to hurt. It's going to be tactical. I do like what Team Bardiani are doing. Sitting there, almost the same colours of Astana. But he's been good today, Samuel Fernandez. Been happy just to go out there on his own and do some work as we look at the back of the peloton. They'll be okay. They'll just be sitting happy in there going, look, you know what, survived today. Let's just wake up tomorrow and see if we've got better legs. It's very interesting to see the only rider there from Bardiani, Edward Cruz, the Colombian, sitting at the back. He'll be more of a climber. He won't want to get too involved in any sort of lead-out train for Zanincello. Yuri Lateo might be the Portuguese man for Kaha Rural to get the job done. .3 kilometres to go. Would be remarkable if Fernandez could somehow find a way and hang in here. I don't think it'll be the case. We saw Eric Fagundes a couple of years ago, though, riding for Burgos, do a similar thing and did manage to get away. Got through to this point on the race and managed to hold on. Main peloton just looked at each other a little bit, underestimated this man's power, and so there it is. Settle back. Here we go. Stage 2. Selby won yesterday. who picks up stage 2. So when this race did finish back in 2025, it was stage 3 last year. And it was Alexander Selby who would win that date. Manuel Payelva would finish second. And it was stage 3 last year, not stage 2. So an opportunity here for Manuel Payelva to look to try and go one better. Here we go, 1.9 kilometres. So it is the boys from Bardiani looking to set it up for Enrico Zanincello. Caja Rural in the green with the white, looking to try and set it up for Yuri Littau. And then Team Balti Visit Malta looking to try and get Manuel Payelva across the line in first place, but they've still got to shut this man down. Samuel Fernandez, who still continues to press on the pedals, still continues to put the power down. And they are starting to run out of road. Now there's some urgency starting to come in. All the teams starting to come to the front now, starting to see Team Balti Visit Malta there in the background. They are on the front of the pain train, folks. Here come the Li Ning Star team, trying to maybe get a stage victory today for the Swiss rider Simon Pallot. It's going to be a good day out in front for this man towards the end of this stage, but it's going to come to an end. It's going to come to an end very, very quickly, because the big boys with the big legs and the big power are starting to close down on him. Who's going to pick up the stage victory? He's set nicely. Manuel Payelva for the Team Balti Visit Malta team. Li Ning Star on the front, looking to drive, looking to try and see if they can find a way of getting Simon Pallot across the line. The big sprint now starts to come. Everybody's in the mix. Big hunt coming down the line. Who's going to grab the stage victory in stage 2 here? I think it will be Manuel Payelva. It does get the stage victory. The man from this remarkable rider from Team Balti Visit Malta, I think, has got it done. We will confirm that for you. Second last year in this stage. Let's just check. Number 84. In fact, it's going to be Gabriel Basega by the looks of it. So, in fact, my apologies. Manuel Payelva let him out. Gabriel Basega has taken the victory. Wow. What a turn up for the books. Really good performance from him. More of a hill climber than he is a sprinter, but he gets the victory, and he's absolutely ecstatic, and so he should be. That is outstanding. Prior to this, he hadn't won a stage in a major professional road race. He's just 22 years of age. And so Basega takes it, the Italian. You just have a look here. Big lead out trumming from Li Ning Star. At this point, Team Balti Visit Malta just starting to come down the outside. The Caja Rural boys have gone as well. And just launches himself off the wheel and wins that sprint comfortably. And we've much of this race just assumed that it might have been Manuel Payelva, but it is going to go the way here of Gabriel Basega. Victory for the young man.
Oh.
So, great job being done by this team. Real United Nations that make up the team. Uruguay, Spain, Italy, France. And there he is, just puts the power down. Just rolls straight over the top of the rider from Li Ning Star in a real class of his own. I just wonder whether Manuel Perliova actually ended up being in that group. It might have been one of those sprinters that just struggled to stay with it. It was always difficult. We were never really sure which of the riders were in that main peloton, which in fact had dropped off. But when it's all said and done, it's another stage victory for this very good team. As we go over the town of Menyuan and confirm the results for you, Marco Manetti finishing in second place. Raman Shishkal from Li Ning Star running at our top three. Good performance there from Andrea Piras, finishing in 8th. Christian Bagatin finishing in 18th. Luca Kovili, he rode well today, finishing in 19th as well. You can see Eric Fagundi as well inside that top 20. So none of the big boys have yet to really make their mark in terms of overall GC. It's been sprinters up to this point. We will have a change in the leader's jersey. We will have a number of different riders will start tomorrow in the yellow, the polka dot, and the green sprinter's jersey. We will confirm the leading Asian rider for you as well. We will take in some highlights of what has been another remarkable stage here on the 25th edition of the Tour of Magnificent Qinghai. Let's take in the highlights of today's stage.